In a dramatic shift that's sending shockwaves through North American defense circles, Canada and the United States appear to be heading toward an unprecedented rivalry. The once unshakable alliance between these neighbors is showing signs of strain, primarily due to actions from U.S. President Donald Trump's administration. Breaking news from Ottawa reveals that Prime Minister Mark Carney has instructed the Defense Ministry to conduct a comprehensive review of the massive $13.2 billion F-35 fighter jet deal with the United States. This development comes as Canada implements retaliatory tariffs in response to Trump's expanding global trade war. For generations, the defense relationship between these North American powers has been considered ironclad. The F-35 project participation was long viewed as a cornerstone of this partnership. However, recent reports circulating in British media and across social platforms suggest Ottawa might be considering a dramatic pivot. The alternative gaining traction is the UK-led Global Combat Air Programme, GCAP, a sixth-generation fighter jet initiative. This potential shift to a European aircraft platform has set off alarm bells in Washington, with sources close to President Trump indicating serious concern about the implications. The stakes are particularly high, as this decision could fundamentally alter both bilateral defense cooperation and NATO standardization protocols. Defense analysts suggest this move might deliver a significant blow to America's strategic goal of expanding the F-35 family network globally. Ottawa's growing frustration stems from two key factors: the escalating costs associated with the F-35 program and the ongoing trade disputes initiated by the Trump administration. This combination has created a perfect storm, pushing Canada to seriously consider alternatives that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. Industry experts note that this potential pivot represents more than just a procurement decision. It signals a broader reassessment of Canada's defense alignment in an increasingly multipolar world. In a significant shift of defense strategy, Canada is weighing options between the F-35 program and potentially joining the Global Combat Air Program, GCAP, a decision that could reshape North American defense dynamics. The growing interest in GCAP's sixth-generation technology represents more than just an aircraft acquisition. It symbolizes Canada's potential pivot toward greater strategic autonomy. Canadian defense analysts point to multiple factors driving this consideration. The F-35's controversial history in Canadian politics dates back to the 2010s, with Ottawa facing scrutiny over the program's mounting costs. The aircraft's high price and maintenance requirements sparked parliamentary debates. Recent U.S. trade policies have intensified the situation. Tariffs during the Trump administration led many Canadians to question their reliance on American defense procurement. Social media has seen increasing calls to diversify Canada's military partnerships. British media sources indicate that the UK has offered Canada founding partner status in GCAP, potentially replacing the F-35 program. This venture, uniting Britain, Italy, and Japan, builds upon the Eurofighter Typhoon program's success. GCAP's sixth-generation capabilities promise advanced AI, enhanced stealth, and revolutionary propulsion systems. For Canada, joining GCAP could mean acquiring cutting-edge aircraft while securing a position in aerospace innovation. The decision affects North American defense integration and NATO interoperability. While the F-35 represents current fighter technology standards, GCAP's development timeline matches Canada's long-term needs. Becoming a founding partner could strengthen Ottawa's domestic defense industry and reduce U.S. dependency. Canadian officials must carefully consider diplomatic consequences, as moving away from the F-35 program could strain relations with Washington during challenging times for North American aerospace cooperation. In a significant shift that's raising eyebrows in Washington, Canada is considering a bold move away from the U.S. F-35 fighter jet program, potentially pivoting toward Britain's Global Combat Air Program, or GCAP. This development has reportedly infuriated former President Trump, who was quoted as saying, "They are taking Canada away from us. This is a complete betrayal." The controversy centers on Canada's $13.2 billion military modernization strategy. While the F-35 represents current fifth-generation technology, GCAP promises sixth-generation capabilities, offering Canada a longer-term solution extending 40 to 50 years ahead. British media sources indicate test flights could begin within a decade. Defense analysts are split on the potential shift. Proponents argue it's forward-thinking to invest in emerging technology, rather than commit to a platform that may become outdated. Critics warn against abandoning a proven system for an untested prototype. The Pentagon's concerns run deeper than losing a customer. The F-35 program was designed to standardize NATO's air capabilities, creating interoperability among allies. Canada's potential departure could weaken both the financial and strategic framework of this initiative, similar to Turkey's previous exit from the program. For the U.S. defense establishment, this represents another crack in NATO standardization efforts. The timing is particularly sensitive given current global tensions and the ongoing conflict between Russia and the former Soviet Republic. Sources within the defense industry suggest this move could trigger a broader reassessment of international defense partnerships, potentially reshaping military cooperation in North America and Europe. The Canadian government has yet to make a final decision, but considering GCAP has already strained U.S. Canadian relations. This development comes amid broader tensions between the two nations, including disputes over trade tariffs and defense spending commitments. Breaking defense news. In a significant shift that could reshape Western military alliances, Canadian officials are exploring advanced alternatives to the F-35 fighter jet program, with strong interest in the British-led Global Combat Air Program, GCAP. This development has raised eyebrows in Washington. Industry analysts note that Canada's strategic pivot isn't aimed at existing fourth-generation fighters like the Typhoon or Rafale. Instead, Ottawa appears to be making a bold leap directly into sixth-generation technology. As one senior defense official explained, "If we're moving away from the F-35, we're not looking backward. We're aiming for the most advanced technology available." The GCAP initiative promises cutting-edge capabilities that could surpass current fifth-generation fighters. These include AI-driven swarm drone management, advanced sensor fusion systems, and enhanced stealth characteristics with minimal radar signatures. Such features position GCAP as a potentially game-changing platform for future aerial warfare. British defense analysts suggest that Canadian participation could accelerate the program's development, bringing both technological expertise and funding. Unlike their current role as a purchasing partner in the F-35 program, Canada could secure founding partner status in GCAP, guaranteeing significant work share for domestic defense industries. While Canadian officials haven't formally announced any F-35 cancellation, recent directives indicate serious exploration of alternatives. This move comes amid broader discussions about defense sovereignty and industrial partnerships. Sources within the Canadian Air Force remain tight-lipped, but internal communications suggest a growing appetite for diversifying military procurement channels. The timing coincides with ongoing debates about defense spending and strategic autonomy among Western allies. Canada's potential pivot toward European defense collaboration could signal a broader realignment in international defense partnerships. Breaking news on North American defense relations. Canada's potential pivot from the F-35 fighter jet program is causing significant waves in Washington. Our sources indicate that Prime Minister Trudeau's government is seriously considering abandoning the $13.2 billion F-35 deal, with eyes turning toward Britain's Global Combat Air Program, GCAP. The story developing here isn't just about military hardware. It's about shifting geopolitical alliances and Canada's growing frustration with U.S. trade policies. Under the Trump administration, steel and aluminum tariffs have strained U.S.-Canadian relations, leading Ottawa to question its traditional defense procurement patterns. Trump's reported reaction, expressing surprise at Canada's potential move, reveals the diplomatic tensions at play. According to defense analysts, Canada may be using the threat of canceling the F-35 deal as leverage in broader trade negotiations. The GCAP alternative, a sixth-generation fighter program led by the United Kingdom, offers Canada an escape route from complete U.S. dependence. Key concerns driving Canada's reconsideration include the F-35's astronomical maintenance costs, restrictive software controls, and the limited industrial benefits for Canadian manufacturers. The promised delivery timeline for new aircraft by 2026-2027 could become a crucial factor if F-35 deliveries don't align with Ottawa's fleet replacement needs. This situation mirrors similar tensions seen in other defense partnerships, where nations seek to diversify their military procurement to reduce dependence on single suppliers. The Canadian government's potential shift toward European defense cooperation could signal a broader realignment of Western military-industrial relationships. For listeners wondering about the practical implications, this move could affect thousands of jobs in both countries and potentially reshape North American defense integration. As this story develops, we'll continue to monitor reactions from both Washington and London, as well as the implications for NATO coordination and future military procurement strategies. Breaking defense news. Canada's potential withdrawal from the F-35 program could trigger a domino effect across NATO's defense landscape, according to military analysts. The $13.2 billion deal hangs in the balance as tensions simmer between Ottawa and Washington. Industry experts warn that Lockheed Martin, the aerospace giant behind the F-35, could face significant financial turbulence if Canada exits the program. International sales are the backbone of the F-35's economic viability, explains defense analyst James Morrison. A Canadian withdrawal would disrupt the careful balance of production costs and could force price increases for other buyers. The ripple effects extend beyond North America. Britain's Global Combat Air Program, GCAP, stands to gain considerable momentum if Canada redirects its fighter jet investments. Post-Brexit, the UK is aggressively positioning itself as a leader in next-generation military aviation, with the GCAP initiative already attracting partners like Japan and Italy. This could be a watershed moment for British defence ambitions, notes RAF veteran and consultant William Blackwood. Adding Canada to the GCAP consortium would validate London's vision of leading sixth-generation fighter development. However, skepticism persists within Canadian defence circles. Critics point out that GCAP remains largely theoretical, with no prototype yet airborne. It's a bold vision for 2035-2040, but we're dealing with unproven technologies, cautions Canadian Defence Ministry advisor Robert Thompson. The stakes are particularly high given current global tensions, including ongoing conflicts with Russia in the northern Black Sea region. NATO cohesion and interoperability remain crucial considerations as Canada weighs its options. Our sources indicate that negotiations continue behind closed doors, with both American and British officials making their case to Ottawa. The decision could reshape Western military aerospace cooperation for decades to come. In a development that could reshape North American defense dynamics, Canada is seriously considering a pivot from its planned F-35 acquisition, potentially turning to the British-led Global Combat Air Program, GCAP. This move could create tensions with the United States, particularly as former President Trump positions himself for a potential return to office. The $13.2 billion F-35 deal, long considered a cornerstone of U.S. Canadian defense cooperation, faces scrutiny from Ottawa. Critics cite concerns about costs, logistics, and infrastructure requirements. Instead of committing to the F-35 for the next 30-40 years, waiting for sixth-generation technology could be more strategic, argues analyst James Morrison. Social media reactions range from humorous quips about Canadian independence to discussions about strategic implications. Canada needs these aircraft to patrol its vast territory, notes expert Sarah Thompson. The question is whether GCAP can fulfill this mission more effectively. The UK's signals about welcoming Canadian participation in GCAP have added weight to these discussions. However, skeptics warn about risks. If this gamble fails, Canada might end up returning to the US market anyway, but with damaged relationships, cautions consultant Michael Roberts. The situation reflects changes in global defense partnerships. With rising costs and evolving technological needs, traditional alliances are being tested. The British initiative offers Canada an alternative path while potentially reducing dependence on US systems. For the Trump camp, Canada's potential shift away from the F-35 represents more than a lost sale. It signals a possible weakening of US influence over its allies' defense decisions. This comes amid ongoing tensions over trade and defense spending. The decision ahead for Ottawa isn't just about aircraft. It's about balancing strategic autonomy with alliance obligations in an increasingly complex global environment. In a development that's sending shockwaves through North American defense circles, Canada's potential reconsideration of its $13.2 billion F-35 fighter jet deal is raising eyebrows across the diplomatic spectrum. This isn't just about aircraft. It's about the relationship between two longtime allies. Let's break down why this matters to you, the American taxpayer and voter. The F-35 program, long considered the crown jewel of U.S. defense exports, is facing unprecedented scrutiny from our northern neighbors. The Canadians are looking at a broader strategic picture that could reshape military alliances for decades. What's particularly interesting is the timing. With the Trump administration's stance on international trade becoming increasingly assertive, Canada's interest in European alternatives isn't coincidental. The Global Combat Air Program, GCAP, led by the British, offers something the F-35 can't: a sixth-generation fighter platform with cutting-edge capabilities. The F-35 isn't just any military hardware, it's the backbone of NATO's air defense integration. Canada potentially stepping away could create a domino effect. If a staunch ally like Canada starts looking elsewhere, what's stopping other nations from following suit? The financial implications are staggering, with high maintenance costs and software limitations being major concerns. The strategic implications are raising alarm bells in Washington. The administration sees this potential shift as more than just a lost sale. It's a possible crack in American defense industry dominance. The ripple effects could extend far beyond North America. Other nations are watching closely, evaluating their own defense procurement strategies. The question isn't just about which aircraft provides better value. It's about the future of international defense cooperation and America's role in shaping it. Looking ahead, the decisions made in Ottawa could influence military procurement patterns globally. With rising tensions and evolving security challenges, the stakes